So this is pretty much my lab environment. We've got this, and then over here we have another computer, and I have, let's see, I have a laptop there, a printer, another printer, a laptop there with a Dell PowerEdge. That Dell PowerEdge sucks. It is from 2008 and it does not work very well. Back over to here, this is a Z400. It's got eight processors, well, eight cores. In addition, it has a solid state drive in it, which is very nice for installing systems. It also has, I believe, 16 gigabytes of RAM. And I am going to build out my lab environment using Hyper-V. So I've got this, and I think this is Hyper-V right here. This is Puppy, I think this is Puppy Linux. I initially used Puppy Linux to go in and do some, what did I do? I think I tried like NTFS fix, and then I ended up mounting it with the remove hyper file or whatever option with the NTFS 3G or whatever it was, and that allowed me to go in, and then I used a tool on the SAM file to change the password to blank to get in. But anyway, long story short, that's all besides the point of the video. The point of this video is just to show you how to set things up in a way where you can be on your MacBook Air, in my case anyway, you can be on a MacBook Air and remotely control your Hyper-V server. So we're going to start the process totally over by shutting the thing off. I am going to put Hyper-V that was burned. I ended up burning the ISO from the prior Windows 10 installed on here using a tool called Rufus. It's R-U-F-U-S ISO burner. So if you just like Google Rufus ISO burner, you will find a free Rufus ISO burner. Make sure to burn Microsoft Hyper-V Server 2019 as an MBR, not a GPT. That is important. We are going to probably hit F9 as soon as this thing starts up. Perfect. And at this point, we are just waiting to get the option with the arrow keys. USB device, enter. So we should see at the bottom of the screen loading files, and we do. So that is how I know this is Puppy Linux and that is Hyper-V server installer. So we're just gonna, for the most part, we're just going through the process and looking into ways that we can ideally very quickly go from having this Hyper-V server over here and just bare minimum quick setup, and we're gonna end up using SSH to be able to get PowerShell from the MacBook Air. And the reason I'm doing that instead of just using PowerShell is because remote PowerShell using a Unix or Linux system is just really painful, I've found in my experience. And so, do I really have to click next? Come on. Okay, install now. It's going to probably take a couple minutes here to get everything up and running. So if you would like to jump around to different parts of this video, feel free to. I am more than happy with putting links in the description of what the parts are. So I'm going to select the bottom option here. Not sure if you can read that, but it's custom install. We are going to install the newer version of Hyper-V server only. And within here, it's important that you know roughly what you're doing. But what I am going to do is come in here and delete all the partitions. So I'm just selecting everything that I can in here to delete. Keep in mind, it's a good idea to make sure you know what you're doing. And by make sure you know what you're doing, by make sure you know what you're doing, I mean, obviously don't wipe your files out, right? Like that's not a good idea. But I'm gonna select drive 0 unallocated space, new, and select apply. It's going to say to ensure all the Windows features work correctly, Windows might create additional partitions for system files. I'm going to select OK, and that's just all pretty normal. So then it creates system reserved, and it selects my primary drive, system drive, and that's pretty much where we're at there. Okay, so I've got drive 0, partition 2, drive 1, partition 1, and so I've just come in here and it's asking me where I want to install, so I'm gonna roll that way and see what happens. So the reason why I was sitting there selecting some different partition information is because within this HP machine, I have I think I have two different hard drives. So I had with having two different hard drives, I was able to mess around with the partition options. In a typical case, if you just have one main solid state drive or one main hard drive, you would just delete all your partition stuff, and then you would have unallocated space, like free space or whatever, and then you would select that and hit new, then next, and continue through. So that's pretty much how Hyper-V, or really I guess any Windows install works. I mean, any OS install really kind of with the GUI guides you through selecting your drives. There we go, that looks a little better. So we're getting files ready for installation. It's at about 60% now. My goal is for this video to not take more than 20 minutes if possible, but I also understand that sometimes operating system installation can take a while. Okay, let's get a little bit closer so we can see what's going on. Yeah, so we're at, oh crap, are you sure you want to quit? No, absolutely not. I hit the escape key, I think. That was really terrible. But we're still at, oh, we're now at 89%, so that's good news. Come on. Well, while this is doing its thing, I'm just going to take a glance in the back of this system here. And what I'm looking for okay. Oh, hey, look at that. It's pretty much wrapping up there. So it's gonna restart to continue. There's a restart now button. Click. And as it's restarting, I am just going to unplug this. No longer need it. And I'm just gonna let the system boot up however it wants to, because I don't think it's set up to boot any other way than like USB first, which I have all my USBs unplugged, and then it should just boot up to the hard drive, which should have Hyper-V on it. Okay, so it's just kind of spinning here. I'm getting ready. I might just end the video here for now, because never mind. You should see like a command line looking thing pop up in just a second. Come on. You can do it. I believe in you. Let's go, Hyper-V. Oh my gosh, what just happened? Oh, damn. Oh, come on. There it is. Please wait for the local session manager. Sure. So now it says the user's password must be changed before signing in. We're gonna click OK. Now it's asking for a new password. I'm going to type staple horse, and again, staple horse. Enter. Now it's changing the password. Your password has been changed. Okay. Administrator, welcome. So now we should see in just a second, there's going to be more of a blue colored command line that pops up. There it is. And I'm going to hit the F11 key, which pulls it up full screen. And let's see here. There we go. I wanted to make the text a bit larger for us to all read here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to hit under remote desktop. I'm just going to hit the 7 to select that. And then it's going to say, do we want to enable or disable? I'm going to do E for enable. And now it's giving me the option of whether I want to allow only clients running remote desktop with network level authentication or secure, or allow clients running any version. I'm going to select 1 because I care about security. The difference is 1 just kind of serves you up a remote desktop display right away, and the number 1 option requires authentication first. So now it says remote desktop enabled for clients only running remote desktop with network level authentication. Okay, wonderful. So now what I can do is I can pop over here to my MacBook, and there is something within the store called Microsoft Remote Desktop. Get that. That is important. You need Microsoft Remote Desktop to get stuff done. One thing we're going to do back over on this side is we are going to go back, we're going to go back to a command line. So we're going to hit F11 and select this window back here and type ipconfig. Okay, so now we see the IPv4 address. This IPv4 address is going to be useful for us to remote in. So I am going to come over here and hit the plus and select add PC, and for the PC name I'm going to type the IP address, or you could type the PC name, like if you gave it a host name like Waffles1 or something like that, but we're just going to use the IP and then hit enter. And then I am going to double click on this PC. It prompts me for a username, and the username I will put in is just going to be administrator. And staple horse. Enter. So now it's saying you are connecting to the RDP host. The certificate could not be verified back to a root certificate. Your connection may not be secured. Do you want to continue? We will click continue. And you'll notice it changes the look over here. And now we are inside of a remote session. And so I can drag this command window around, and I have this here. So this is kind of cool. It's a little bit nice to be able to come in here and just, now I can type on my MacBook, and I can control the Hyper-V server over here from my MacBook now on the same network, of course. If you wanted to do this over the internet, you need to probably most likely do some port forwarding. So that would be going into your router control panel and performing some port forwarding to forward the appropriate ports. But I don't recommend you do that unless you know what you're doing with security and maybe you have a firewall, IDS, IPS, just anything, something, everything if you can. But anyway, let's go ahead and get back to the whole thing with getting SSH going on here so we can remotely PowerShell. The most important thing is going to be installing the OpenSSH server. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull those commands up real quick because I don't honestly have them memorized, but I have them right here. So I'll show you what that looks like. That would be this right here. So add Windows capability online, name, OpenSSH server. So we are going to copy this, switch back over, and just simply paste it in. Okay, so first we need to type PowerShell. So we should enter a PowerShell session and now paste that in. So now you're going to see this running across. It's going to get that added. So after we have that, we are going to need to start the service. So here is it right here. So we can set the service to an automatic startup as well, which is probably a smart idea if you want to use it every time the Hyper-V machine is turned on. So automatic, copy that, go back over, and let's just paste in our start service SSHD and set the service startup type to automatic. And in just a moment, there we go, we can see that worked. So now what that's going to enable us to do is open up a new terminal window on the MacBook, and I'm just going to go full screen on this, and I am going to make this really big. Okay, so now we can all see it. I'm going to do SSH administrator at, and so we could do the host name, right? Or we could do that IP address, which I just happen to possibly have it memorized. Honestly, I don't. So let's look. It's 192.168 right here. It's 192.168.8677. So I'm gonna tab back over. Okay, so 192.168 dot, what was it, 86.77? Okay. Okay, so it's telling me that we need to add the correct host key in known hosts. What I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to remove the known hosts. So I'm going to cd into .ssh, and I'm going to type rm known hosts. So now we should be able to do that that again. So now I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to type staple force. So now I am from my MacBook Air, I am remoted in via SSH to the Hyper-V machine, and I can now type help. And you can see this is all command prompt stuff, but now I can type PowerShell. And now I'm actually having a nice native Windows PowerShell experience. So now if I type help, we'll see a lot more, like, yeah. So we can see that we've got PowerShell stuff going on. Anyway, that's it. That's all that there is to it to get that going. Now we could type wget and like wget and ISO. Typically, you need to use a basic, I think it's basic parsing or something like that. But anyway, let's do an example, I guess. Let's just get the website. So if I try to do this, right, and then I do like an out file, lol.html, we're gonna see an error message. Oh, actually we did not see an error message. That's kind of interesting. Cat lol. Huh, neat. Okay, sure. I don't know, maybe it's because I updated the system last time, but I was getting error messages about some like internet engine not being initialized or properly set up. But anyway, there is an option. If you have that error message, it's like use basic parsing, and that steps around that. But yeah, you just out file an ISO and get an Ubuntu VM set up, and then start remoting into that, build out your server, and that's pretty much how you get started. So I hope that this is helpful. All right, I'm going to bed.